Good morning, History 1700 students. Today is week 1, day 3, so day 1.3, instructional video for Reuben Wadsworth's History 1700 course for Dixie State University, summer semester 2020. I think, hopefully, I've got all of you squared away on how to get on our Google Meets for next time around. Quite a few of you emailed me, said you missed the Google Meet or you weren't able to get on, and I think I responded to those emails, or a few of you called me, responded to those calls, and I think from now on you'll be able to get on. The links to the Google Meets will be the same, and I'll send you a reminder email either Friday or Saturday, and then you will get an alert email or another little reminder about 10 or 15 minutes before the actual Google Meet starts. So please be checking your email to get to those links. Just click on the link and get in. You can turn off your video on those Google Meets if you want, if you don't want to be seen. And then obviously turn off your microphone while I'm giving my little spiel. And then when I open it up for questions, you can turn on your microphone and speak up to ask your question, or you can type your question in the comments section of the Google Meet. Either one is fine. So just to give you a heads up there. And then oral history research paper, the rough draft will be due next Wednesday. We'll be doing our peer reviews next Wednesday. I'll let you know how that's going to work. And then that's about it for housekeeping. We'll move on into our topics for today. And like I said, the first day, the first Google Meet, I'm tasked with covering Columbus until now during this course, and so we're going to skip a lot of history, and that's where we are now. We are skipping from early colonization to the French and Indian War. We'll be talking about the French and Indian War and the Revolutionary War today. Just give you a few little heads up on those. So during my undergrad years, I thought, French and Indian War, just something that came before the Revolution. Like I said on my Google Meet on Monday, history has a reputation for being one dang thing after another. And maybe sometimes in your classes previously, there was not much talk of causation. What caused the next thing to happen? What caused something else to happen? Well, the French and Indian War, an undergrad professor really helped me realize the aftermath of the French and Indian War really helped cause and start the process rolling that would lead to the Revolutionary War. Because the French and Indian War, just a little bit of background, you'll watch your video clips, I'll mention those here in a little bit. But the French and Indian War started in 1754 with between obviously the French and the British over a hotly contested territory at the forks of the Ohio where Pittsburgh is today. And watching a little bit of the video, the first about 7 or 8 minutes of part 1 of the video, The War That Made America, you will see George Washington in an entirely new light. George Washington was right there at the start of the war, and actually some of his actions helped cause the start of the French and Indian War. And that is something that a lot of people don't know about George Washington. And so it is integral, that you watch that first, like I said, 7 or 8 minutes of part 1 of The War That Made America. The links to the videos are in the week 1 short answer. Obviously, the week 1 short answer for day 1.3 today. So you need to watch that to see young George Washington, 22-year-old, just overzealous about his responsibilities. And as the video says, he gets his first taste of battle because he orders fire when he shouldn't have, and his actions help start the French-Indian War. So kind of interesting there. So this contested territory, force of the Ohio. French wanted it, the English wanted it, obviously, and the Indians liked the fact that these two powers were bouncing off each other, meaning that they could do kind of what they wanted, because no one power had all the power. But that would change after the war. So the first part of the war, the French were doing really well. They had the Indian allies, and it looked like the what would become the United States was going to lose. Big battle in 1755 with General Braddock being the leader. Major defeat, and thought it would be a victory. The tide did not change until about 1757. William Pitt becomes the Prime Minister of England and infuses a lot of money and troops into the effort, and does some things to address, to kind of appease the Indians, and that helps in getting some Indian allies, which the British sorely needed. So the Iroquois, the Six Nations, the tribes, kind of based in upstate New York. Seneca was one of them. Man, I can't remember any of the others, but that was the prize for any side of the war to get the Iroquois as allies. And once the British had the Iroquois as allies, once William Pitt put all these resources into the war, the tide began to change. The U.S., what would be the U.S., started winning the war, and by 1759, 1760, had won the victory. And gotta remember how the British colonizers treated the Indians. They appeased them when they wanted them as allies, but as soon as the war was over, just turned a blind eye. You guys can go away. That was their attitude towards the Indians. But King George III wanted to make sure the Indians felt good, and issued in 1763 the Proclamation of 1763, which guaranteed Indians the land west of the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, but that angered the colonists that were there, because they felt like they were fighting that war to gain that land west of the Appalachian Mountains. So that was one huge thing in the aftermath of the French-Indian War. Another huge thing in the aftermath was money. Okay, the British had gone into major debt to fund the war, expected the colonists to pay their due, and the colonists said, "Hey, we don't have any representation in Parliament. Why can you strap us with paying for this war when we don't have any representation?" You've heard the phrase, "no taxation without representation," and that's where it came from. Another big thing after the war, two other big things after the war, the French were out. They were out of the picture. After the war, they only had New Orleans. They had a few holds on some Caribbean islands, but that was it. And so that eliminated the French as a major colonial power. That was a big deal. That was a big deal for the Indians, because as I said before, the Indians played off the fact that the French and the British, just played off each other, and they could, go in there and get what they basically wanted. But without the French in the picture, with one major power, okay, the Indians were just left to themselves. And that was the attitude the British had to the Indians all the time. Yes, appease them to get them to be allies, but then turn a blind eye, as I said. So that was a big deal. 4 major things in the aftermath of the French and Indian War that would lead to the Revolutionary War. The fight over land, okay, obviously want to expand to those greener pastures, literally, in the Ohio Valley, and didn't want to pay the taxes if they weren't being represented. And so that started a major tension, major scuffle between the colonists and obviously the British Parliament especially. And so to help pay for the war, later on in the 1760s, the British issued all kinds of acts, the Sugar Act first, the Stamp Act, those kind of things. The colonists are just up in arms about these. They burned these tax collectors in effigy. The Stamp Act didn't even go into effect, and the Stamp Act was to pay taxes on paper goods, cards, insurance policies, anything like that. And it didn't even go into effect because the British saw that, this would cause too much strife being put into play. But later on, 1767, I want to say, the Townshend Acts. The Townshend Act said that the British could do anything they needed to collect the money they needed from the colonists, and tons of tension there. You've got the Sons of Liberty, who are set up to kind of spy on the British, let people know what the British are doing, protesting as well. You got non-importation. Non-importation was the colonists saying, hey, we want to do all we can to not rely on British imports to hurt, obviously, the British economy. You've got committees of correspondence to let colonists know of British activities. So 1774, you got the first Continental Congress. At that point, the colonists said, okay, we still want to be British subjects, we want to redress our grievances. Okay, and that didn't work out very well. 1775, scuffles in Massachusetts, shots fired at Concord, and what was the other one? I can't remember. But that's the real start of the war, 1775. Then 1776, the Second Continental Congress, they start to realize, we're trying to redress our grievances, this isn't working. It is best to break away from the British and be a separate entity. And so that was the start of the machinations that led to the Declaration of Independence, obviously, officially declaring independence from Britain, and the war really started to get hot in August of 1776. So that is it in a nutshell. That the French and Indian War had a major factor in setting the tensions that would create the process that would start the Revolutionary War. And the Revolutionary War is interesting because so much emphasis is on the revolution itself before the war, and not much emphasis on the actual war itself. It wasn't a path paved to victory. It wasn't a foregone conclusion. It didn't look very good for the colonists right at first. The British were the big boys in the block at the time. They had the power. They were pretty confident they could win. But two major things that handicapped the British. They underestimated the colonists' resolve. They were fighting for their own turf. Okay, these British soldiers come through. They were just paid to do what they wanted to do. They weren't as into it. But the major thing was the Atlantic Ocean. Obviously, the communication was slow. Getting resupplying, getting more troops over, that took a while because they had to jump on that ship to go across the Atlantic Ocean. Things looked horrible by December 1777. And this is another thing about the Revolutionary War that is underplayed, is French help. I'm here to tell you that without the French help, the U.S. probably would not have won that war. So French help was huge to help winning the war. But obviously, the French want to get back at their constant enemy, the British, and that significantly aided in the war. I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to tell you. But the readings, okay, well, first of all, videos for the French Indian War. Like I said, the first about 7 to 8 minutes of that, of part 1. Okay, and then part 2, you want to watch quite a bit of it. The most important part of part 2 is about, if I remember right, 33 minutes on. That is talking about the aftermath of the war, the tensions, what led to the Revolutionary War, and that's a really, really good section. I'll put that in my email as well. And then the Revolutionary War reading is completely historiographical. It is looking at, hey, how is the Revolutionary War looked at today? And how did the Founding Fathers kind of sweep the less savory aspects of that war under the rug? How did the Founding Fathers make themselves look better in the wake of the Revolutionary War? Kind of that kind of thing. And I think it is very highly enlightening, something you'll want to read. It's pretty short. It's only, I think, 5 pages. So Rethinking the Revolution, and then those 2 videos. Watch the videos, read the reading, decide what question you want to answer. Again, just one question today, one question per day. Make sure you're doing your discussion board. Looks like a lot of you have already responded to the discussion board. And then make sure you've submitted your short answer question for week 1. Short answer questions, 3 of them, 1 per day, by tomorrow at the end of the day. Discussion board, same thing. Submit that by the end of the day tomorrow. And I will sign off, and I will see you in a Google Meet Tuesday morning, June 30th. I think, yeah, Tuesday is June 30th. So we will see you then. Have a good weekend. Thanks.